Hi, Janet. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Helen. Not now.
Did hi. Okay. Did Ryan get sworn in?
No,
He's not been sworn in.
but he will be. He's got to make an appointment with Jennifer and pick a time.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
wondering.
He did email. He emailed me this morning, and Courtney emailed us, right, Courtney?
Yes, I did email you.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rich, who's in charge this morning?
You are.
I am, okay.
I was going to say, as always, the chair is in charge, Madam Chair.
I thought this was your meeting, but anyhow. So there's a number of department heads that aren't on. I don't know if Dan's going to be on this morning.
Dan will not make it. So Mike and I have that covered. Suzanne is on.
She is, okay.
Hillary's here.
Yes, okay.
Both chiefs.
Yep.
I think we're really only missing Justina.
Oh, yeah.
Janet.
Yes.
Hi.
How are you?
We have in this homework packet a whole lot of stuff that we really need Dan for. Is Jean here?
I think
Yes, I am. I'm in
All
Trovato. Our office is like Grand Central Station, so.
Oh, Mike, you're here. Okay, good.
Well, Jean
I didn't know
is
what
with
Mike was being referred to.
Jean is with Helen. Jean is with Mike, Helen.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all. I just had questions. Thank you. And maybe we should say which Mike it is, because I was thinking I can see Mike Tabasco's there. What's the problem? Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's 10 o'clock. Should I start the meeting?
Yeah,
I think so. Okay, good morning. It's now 10 o'clock, Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. This is a meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board along with the Emergency Management Task Force. We will begin by announcements, open sessions, and public comments. Public comments must be brief. The board will not deliberate or vote on any matter raised solely during announcements and public comments. I would like to say congratulations and soon to welcome Ryan Curley to the board. Kathleen Bacon has stepped down and he didn't win the election hands down. So he is on this meeting, but he's not on the board. He hasn't been signed in or given the oath yet, so he'll be on our next meeting. Any other announcements from the public, from the board, or from the public, or from whoever's here?
Madam Chair, Mike Hurley.
Yes, Chief.
I'm not sure if Out of Cape Health is on the call this morning, but yesterday we were notified by their facilities manager that on Wednesday, June 17th and Thursday, June 18th, at their Howardsport, Wellfleet, and Provincetown offices, they'll be offering free COVID-19 testing. If you go onto our Facebook site or Out of Cape Health's, they'll have the process on how you have to sign up for it. It's from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. both days.
So, Chief, I heard on the news that the testing is for people who have been in large crowds. They may have it. Is it for anyone who's worried, or is it for specific people, or do you know?
Well, they're advertising it for large gatherings. So I think during the screening process, if you have questions on it, you can call them.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to move that the item number 2 on our agenda, the restaurant amendments and outdoor dining, be moved to the end of the meeting after residents, taxpayers, and beach options, because we have all the department heads here and they're busy and have to get back to work. So
Second, Helen second.
good, all in favor, say aye, raise your hand.
Helen, I.
Okay. So close enough. Anyone opposed? All right. So moving on to restaurant amendments and no, COVID-19 updates and discussions. Is that with Mike or each director, or who wants to start? Okay. Did every, Mike Trovato, do you want to comment on the fiscal 21 budget and 112 spending mechanism?
I'm trying to understand it.
Okay,
Mike, you need to accept it or stop hitting it yourself.
Hello, Madam Chair. Sorry, troubles with unmuting. Mike Trovato here. I'm actually going to have our accountant, Gene Ferrari, update you on the FY21 budget and the 112 spending mechanism.
great.
Okay, gonna do the best.
Gene.
First time I've ever lived through a 1/12 budget. I imagine it's first time for everybody. I'm gonna jump in. The 21 budget right now is, well, it's in flux. It's gonna be adjusted. We know. You know, we're gonna continue to work on it. 1/12 budget that everyone is up in arms about is simply DOR is allowing us to spend 1/12 of our FY20 budget, where we stand now, because technically we don't have a 21 budget. We're not going to have a 21 budget until October. So you can spend 1/12 of your budget for, well, July, August, September, October. It will be adjusted. Now DOR is taking it at a high level. Approximately, the way they do it is they take our recap off of last year. We have to raise and appropriate about 18 million bucks divided by 12. We got somewhere in the range of a little under $2 million to spend every month, give or take. They're not going to hold us to this. I'm just throwing out a $2 million number. They're not going to hold us to that, because in July or August, we're going to have some heavy payments. Example, we have to pay our assessment to Barnstable County in July. Otherwise, we get assessed a ton of interest payments. It makes sense to pay it in July. We will have debt payments due in probably August. We'll take that into account and make adjustments for it. That's pretty much what we're going to put in. I know Dan has been collecting the 1/12 budget. I've sent out a few reports. It will impact, for most administrative departments, not a big deal. It will impact, really impact the beach, maybe recreation, where we spend a ton of money, July, August, September. Again, DOR will take that into account. We will have a 21 budget. And my understanding is the way it works is we're gonna take in the 21 budget, take out what we've already spent for the first 4 months, the 112 budget, and march forward with that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Helen?
Yeah, a couple questions. You answered the first one just now, the last thing you said, which is once we have ATM, we can stop this nonsense. And it's not nonsense, but it's very complicated. My second question, which you partly answered, but I want to get a little more granular. Jean, will it be hard to spend enough to avoid the penalties that are described in number 6 of the certification document? It's the attachment B. In other words, are we going to have to be doing in the middle of summer? If we have to do it, we have to do it. Are we going to be having to scramble to make sure that we spend the stuff we get from the care allotments, right? I'm changing the subject slightly, but that money is coming into our budget.
Correct.
And yes, and the reason I'm bringing it up now is because we're allowed to use it for a bunch of stuff that's in our 1/12 allotment for each month, right?
Yes.
And my question is, if we don't spend, that has to be meticulously documented care money that comes in.
Correct.
It goes back to the state. And how is that going to work? Does it have to go through the FinCom? What is the process for that going to be? Is it going to be more complicated than figuring out how to do the 1/12? We can't spend less than that 1/12.
Correct. And
Crazy.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm waiting for an answer, and then I have one more question.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna have a problem spending more than the 1/12. Now, to answer your question about COVID, we have already accumulated somewhere in the $60,000 range in expenses, and it continues. Now, Chief Hurley being the, chief cook and bottle washer on this, he and I have been working with the expenses, and I think it was Friday we had to submit something to DOR, or by Friday. He submitted it on Thursday. Chief, feel free to jump in. And I was just notified from Marion that we received 100% of what we put in. So what is going to happen from an accounting perspective is that money is not going to show up in our expense budget. I have been allowed to, or any town has been allowed to set up a grant. And in that grant, I'm going to capture all the expenses related to COVID, as well as the reimbursements related to COVID, be it FEMA, MEMA, whomever. That will not impact us from an expense perspective, because you can carry a negative forward in a grant, and who knows how long it's going to take FEMA to reimburse us. The money we got today was strictly state money. That was an extremely quick turnaround. Never expected that. So it should not impact us from an expense standpoint, because I'm going to be capturing all that, any expenses and or revenues in this grant.
Okay.
Thank you. And so one more question. You said something in a kind of shorthand that I didn't understand, which is you said Dan Hort has been collecting the 1/12. I think you said already, meaning what did that mean in this month of June? I didn't quite get that. It was one of the things you said in your statement.
Sure. Dan has sent out a memo to all department heads saying, please work on a 1/12 budget. And they've been contacting me. For example, Becky has already contacted me on the beach because, like I said, there's a ton of expenses in July, August for the beach. Miriam has stated
Right.
hers to account for debt payments. We are collecting those. So we have some kind of marching order to submit to the state. Again, this is probably the first time they've gone on a 1/12 budget with this many towns. So they are, I mean, we're working with our DOR rep on what do we need. One of the items I had on this agenda was just an allowance for the Board of Selectmen to allow us to spend COVID money. It's something that we have to, DOR recommended it. I've got it here in the folder.
Okay, so when you said collecting, you meant collecting not money, but collecting input from the departments.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I didn't quite understand. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Thank you.
And then we're going to roll it all up, and we're going to come in with, I can almost guarantee you in July and August, and probably September, we're going to come in with more than a 1/12 budget. But again, DOR will take that into account, exclusive of COVID, simply for what Suzanne has to do for the beach, what Suzanne has to do for recreation. Miriam's got to spend a lot of debt payments up front. They will take that into account, and we're not going to get penalized for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with the questions?
Mike DeVasto had one.
Okay. Mike,
I was just wondering, so we've already received this CARES Act funding allotment that we've requested. Is that what you said, Mike?
Yes, correct.
And so that funding is only for additional expenses caused by COVID, not to fill any budget shortfalls.
Yes, it's only above and beyond, and I've had a few discussions with department heads. For example, Suzanne Becky had called me. I think Nancy Savetta was another one that had given me a buzz. And it's only money above and beyond. For example, someone in the beach is working part-time. They work 20 hours a week.
Right.
And week 1, he works 20 hours a week checking IDs. Week 2, he checks beach stickers. Week 3, he's put on COVID-related expenses. 20 hours. That 20 hours is not COVID-related because it's part of his normal work schedule. So what, he's doing COVID. He could have been checking beach stickers. If he works 30 hours, the extra 10 hours is COVID-related. So
Okay.
the normal expenses, your budget, payroll, I'm looking at this, and again, I'm from up north, a DPW perspective. We constantly run into snow and ice deficits because that's all we do with up there is snow. Your 40-hour work week, it doesn't matter. If you're plowing snow, you're plowing snow. It's part of your 40-hour work week.
Right.
If you go above the 40 hours, that's when we start hitting snow and ice. COVID works the exact same way. Anything above and beyond your normal pay only.
And is it just for payroll related, or is it also for just costs to the town, such as like Jersey barriers and DPW? It does. Oh, it's just, is there like infrastructure related costs that are covered through this too, or just payroll?
Yes, again, Chief Hurley has a document too. It's something sent out by MEMA. We've got to classify it as property, plant, and equipment, buildings, porta potties, additional porta potties, disinfecting of town buildings. All of a sudden, we're spending a ton of money on gloves, masks, hand sanitizer. All that's considered part of COVID.
And I just want to make sure I'm correct in this assumption that it will not cover will not cover expenses related to, like, say we reduce for instance, day parking, we're not, that's COVID related. We're not accepting day parking. The lost revenue, this will not make up for in any way, right? We can't-
Correct. All we're
Okay.
tracking is expenses.
Okay, that's all. Thank you for clarifying all that for me.
Madam Chair, Mike Hurley.
Yes, yes, Chief.
I know it's next on the agenda item, and I know that I think the 1/12 budget and the CARES Act are kind of getting intermingled.
I agree, yeah.
Under the CARES Act, I can give you a quick 2-minute thing. It's I may have put too much in your packet, but I figured there was information you could read. It's very confusing. Obviously nobody makes this easy. So what's happening now is there's 2 forms for us to get reimbursement during a state of emergency, which the town declared back in March. And typically most emergencies end within a certain amount of time because they're storm related or natural disaster. So what's happening now is this is a rolling emergency, which really has no end date in sight at the moment. So the CARES Act through the state is portions of money that the town can recoup from COVID-19 expenses. However, in some categories, which you'll see, Helen was just holding it up when I gave you this document here, there are some portions of this reimbursement that we have to go to FEMA for the additional 75%. So right now we have spent $133,492 in COVID expenses. The state just sent us, actually today, which was a very quick turnaround, 60,000 of that back to the community. So right now, myself and the fire chief need to go back to FEMA and try to recoup that additional remaining monies. And I know it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It took us a few weeks to wrap our heads around it. But basically, under every subsection, if you look under costs, staff, but if you go to page 4 out of 10 on the spreadsheet that I gave you, like sanitation and refuge collection, underneath it says assumed to be ineligible for FEMA reimbursement. That means the state will give us back 100% of that. Any of the other categories, PPE gear, cleaning and disinfecting of buildings, other items, the state gave us 25% back. We need to get the other 75 from FEMA. The only thing we applied for this round, which is all expenses up till June 30th, they gave us food for families through the school system. That was 100% reimbursement back to the community, which was $31,704. So I'm not sure if I made it more confusing or less, but the guidance explains what we can spend it on and how much the state gives us, and then how much we have to go back to FEMA matters also. And Chief, I don't know if you can make it any clearer or if I'm okay.
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head, Chief. And I just, so the board to remind you gently, don't expect this same type of turnover or reimbursement so quickly in the future. Not to say doom and gloom, but FEMA is a much bigger, more bureaucratic organization, and we have waited years in some cases for that reimbursement. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen in this case, but as Chief and Gene said, this turnover from the state is actually remarkable in terms of their reimbursement to us. But Chief Hurley and I are working on this. We're being very cautious and making sure that we're doing it the right way to the best of our ability. So I would just ask the board to have patience and faith in us. Thank you.
We do. So I have a question for anybody who wants to answer it, who's a department head. Do you guys, you must work together on this, right? I mean, there's got to be a meeting where you divvy up or somebody sends in their requirements, or and then who's actually in charge of the overall budget for this?
The town administrator, Mr. Hort, put myself and Chief Hurley in charge of it.
Okay, so you're getting all the expenses from all the different departments and then adjusting it or putting it together.
That is
Okay.
correct. And we are taking information from every department head as they give it to us.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, I had a question about the 112 budget. I'm just sort of trying to get an idea of, I guess, where we think, how far off are we going to be in our revenue? Mike, maybe you can answer this. As far as, like, you know, if we keep spending on the 112th budget, I guess what percentage of revenue is going to be sort of based on, like, our sales tax and stuff like that? Because obviously our property taxes are going to be the same. We can count on that revenue. I don't know if anybody can answer that.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that right now. It's too early to tell.
Yeah,
And may
okay.
have been working with some numbers that I'm just not aware of at this point.
Okay. I guess I was just kind of fishing for, like, does the outlook look okay?
Yeah, a little soon to tell, I think.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Any other questions on the 112 spending and or the CARES Act?
Yes, Janet?
Yes, Helen.
Hi. So to the chiefs or anybody else, Jean, Mike, Trovato, is there any sense of this funding, these funding sources, either FEMA or the state funding, drying up? Is there any sense of the time element here? Has anybody given, either from the state or FEMA, this town, any information about how long this might continue?
Chief, go ahead.
Yeah, quick answer there. Yeah, go ahead, Chief Polly.
What I have right,
Okay.
what I have right here, as far as the CARES Act goes, what we just submitted and received at the moment, $60,000 back on, that is only spending up until June 30th. The CARES Act is going to let us at the moment reimburse any cost incurred up until June 30th of 2020. On the back sheet of the DLS guidance I gave you, Wellfleet is eligible up to $240,000, no more. However, the town is not in a windfall for $240,000 because in most cases we are only getting 25% back from this act, and we need to go to FEMA for the remaining 75%. And as the fire chief said, FEMA is like a moving target: A, funding; B, applying; and C, when and if you ever see it. So right now, this is what the state is promising Wellfleet, but I honestly do not see us at the moment reaching that threshold with a 25% return. If the schools continue meals, you know, that is a pretty hefty amount of money that the town can recoup at 100%.
Thank you. And what I'm getting from that answer is that's the best you know, and we don't know, given that there's a lot we don't know about the future. You know, if there's massive hurricane seasons, there's like Hurricane Katrina or something, FEMA may, who knows how that money is going to be available or not. So thank you. Clarity about what we don't know is also useful.
Okay, anyone else? So we can move on to beach fire permits. I know Mike DeVasto wanted to talk about this on the agenda, but maybe Suzanne Thomas can address it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Beach fire permit. Beach fires themselves are not problematic because we've done it successfully for a number of years. The disconnect is issuing beach fire permits without one-on-one contact with the people receiving them. We have no capacity right now to do it as part, I'm sorry about the phone, I'm in the beach office. We don't have the capacity right now to allow it online because one of the beach fire regulations is it has to be someone who is a resident of Wellfleet, non-resident taxpayer, or staying in Wellfleet. So the online process becomes pretty cumbersome with what we require people to turn in for these permits. We also have no way, if it's of limiting the number, like if I haven't actually, I did ask the software designer for our current sticker software to come up with a solution last winter, and Truro was also interested. And after a winter of pondering things, he couldn't come up with what would actually work online. So that's my disconnect. It's the permitting process itself, not the beach fires.
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you want to add anything or questions? Mike DeVasto?
I guess I just wondering if there's some way we could do a sort of a drop off paper application or something like that. What concerns me a little bit is that not allowing permitted beach fires is going to probably result in unpermitted beach fires where people don't sort of we haven't sort of gotten an agreement where, you know, you can have a beach fire if you adhere to these guidelines or permit process. And it's such a tradition in Wellfleet, you know, going back, I guess, you know.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So let's say there's 10 fires at Newcomb's, and for the 10 fires at Newcomb's per day, approximately 42 people would like to have Newcomb's. So if we're going to have drop-offs, I need a way for them to be time-stamped so that we would give the first 10 people, you know, chronologically, the right to the fire, because that's not fair for them to get there first and then have somebody who comes later, just not, because we didn't know what time they were dropped off.
Right. Okay. And do you think an email?
So, I mean, help me with this. If you can come up with a great solution, I'll work with you, but I just, at this moment, can't wrap my brain about something that would actually work.
Yeah, I didn't understand that was the holdup there. So now that I'm clear about that, and maybe if anyone can come up with something or whatever, we can sort of talk about it.
Okay, absolutely.
I just wasn't sure what the issue was, and I appreciate that, Suzanne. And
yep, that's it. That is the only issue.
Yeah, I mean,
because Lord knows we all like a beach fire.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's one of those things where, like, if a family wants to have a little beach fire, most of the people who get permits are people who are having little family situations.
So I was thinking maybe we could have a target date of July 1 to get this underway. That would give us a couple of weeks to brainstorm about it and get something that might work. Because I hate to put it out there and have it all blow up and everybody's angry, rather than doing it right away.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm willing to think about it and come back to you.
All right. We can talk.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with a comment or question?
Yes.
Okay.
So comment and question. One is possible solution to put into Suzanne's brain. Have applications, you know, online for beach fires, have deadlines for dates, and then do a lottery. In other words, if you want to have a beach fire on Sunday the X, you have to submit your application online before whatever date you guys figure is efficient. And then 10 people will be chosen and informed. And you would obviously want to do this a few weeks before the date of the beach fire request. That's just a thought. Lotteries are good. The second thing is a question through you, Janet, to Suzanne. What is the park doing about beach fires? Do they allow them at all? Suddenly I realize I don't know that. And how does this relate to us and enforcement and all of that?
Well, traditionally, and I don't know what they're doing this summer, traditionally they allow beach fires at Marconi, one of the beaches in Eastham, Head of the Meadow and Truro, and I think, so they allow beach fires in 4 different locations. You have to make a reservation 3 days in advance at their visitor centers to get a beach fire reservation. Whether or not they're going to allow beach fires this summer, I haven't touched base with their head ranger yet, so I do not know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, it's Chief Pauly.
Yes.
I with all due respect, and again, I'm one that loves a beach fire, but whatever process that, if we decide to come up with, has to be streamlined and it cannot be complicated. And your staff is pretty much tapped out right now with a full plate. So whatever we do, whatever we decide, with all due respect to the board, it needs to be signed off by the department heads that are most affected, because we don't have a lot of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for weighing in on that. So I see Suzanne was nodding her head and that she heard you, and we'll work on this. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to resident taxpayer beach option. Mike, you were the one who requested this? Michael Devasco? Yep.
So I was basically, people have been expressing interest in this with me, and I personally think that we just started allowing visitor stickers to be sold, and I guess what I'm proposing is that visitor stickers would give access to every beach and pond in Wellfleet except for LeCount Hollow, which would be resident taxpayer access only, at least for a trial period. If we're really busy and we have access issues, I think with COVID-19 and the sort of stress that local residents and taxpayers are under, that we can owe them the access to that resource. And so I'd like to see something like this happen, or maybe to a certain time of day or something like that. So I'm interested in what Suzanne has to say, and just wanted to talk about it.
Okay, well, I will comment that this is, in however many years I've been paying attention to the select board, this is the first time we've actually gotten letters all in support of something, rather than kind of people being mad. So Suzanne, what do you say to this?
Okay, there I am. I think we would be able to do this, but I would strongly recommend 2 things. Number one, that it be not specific hours, but for the summer of 2020 at one location, because trying to negotiate with people who say, well, it's residents only until 2 and it's only 150 and I want to get it, would create a lot of negotiation at the gate. So I would rather just make it clean. This is for residents and taxpayer stickers only for the summer of 2020. And at the end of the summer, do an assessment. My other thought is, if we find that there are open spaces many of the days at the location chosen, that we have to see this as a strength, because it means that residents want to go to the beach, there will be a parking spot for them. It's not a failure of the system if the lot's not full every single day. So I would put that out there as a thought. And my number 3 comment is, it's McGuire Landing. That's its legal name, not LeCount's.
Okay, McGuire's Landing.
Okay.
Because we don't want to get in trouble.
So would you need a vote by the board on that?
Oh, absolutely, because that's use of town property. That's way above me.
Janet?
Okay, so Michael, does somebody have a question? Okay, Helen? Yeah.
Hi, so I'm in favor of this too. The only thing I want to say is, given that there would be people that were not residents taxpayers who would be limited then to 3 of the parking lots on Ocean View Drive, right? That we have the extra space on Whitecrest open, not for day trippers, but just open for parking. Because remember, the more roomy the parking, the safer it is. So not to have that be a closed lot at Whitecrest as a generosity. You see what I mean? And I like the idea of having a beach that might be roomier, that might be less congested in the parking lots and in the parking space area for residents to have them be safer. And I agree with Suzanne. That was the third thing I was going to say was let's just have it as simple as possible. 2020. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Suzanne, do you have a comment to that?
I would respectfully ask the board to reserve any voting on that piece until I can report on how busy Whitecrest is when it's only open on the ocean side. Because last summer, when we instituted stickers only on the ocean side and pay beach on the other side, often the front lot wasn't full and we allowed pay parkers to park in the front lot because that lot was full and the stickers didn't fill the front lot. So I would rather be able to come to you in a few weeks and say, you were right, we need to open the back lot, or I don't think it's indicated because of this reasons. So.
Okay, so did Michael make a motion? Did anyone make a motion, or were we about, oh, Helen had her hand up before I made the motion. So would someone like to make a motion to accept McGuire's Landing as a,
Justina is on.
okay, does she have her hand up?
Yep, I'm gonna unmute her. And there's a couple of public people with their hand up as well.
Thank you, Courtney. Sorry, Janet. I thought we were meeting tonight. I want to support what Suzanne said. I think that there were good reasons for handling Whitecrest the way we do, and she also is closer to the data. I also want to say during the attempt to discuss limiting short-term rentals, it came to my attention anyway, what a huge number of them there really are. And I think it's good to prioritize some access for residents because I don't think we're in the business of necessarily providing parking for people's investment properties. We should make the town livable for the people who live here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Who else has their hand up? I don't have that screen. Oh, there we go.
It's okay. It's under participants, but
Yep, I just got it.
okay. Do you
Janet Drowan or somebody else?
Janet Jerome will go first.
I appreciate the resident-only parking situation, Michael. I think it's a great idea for all of us that live here. But I think one of the considerations that we haven't mentioned yet is those people who live here who have people come who are not residents. That means they can't go to the beach with those people, i.e. if they want to use that parking lot. So if someone has children that come to visit and want to go to the beach and need their own car because of all the paraphernalia, I'm just looking at my own self, they would not be able to beach together. Just an FYI.
Okay,
Donna McCaffery.
go ahead, Donna.
I understand that you want to have a residents only beach, but if you're going to be selling seasonal beach stickers and you're already cutting down the whole Whitecrest lot, how are you going to sell these stickers? And then there's not going to be enough parking for people. Are you going to limit the number of stickers you're going to sell? And one other thing, if you're already closing down the Whitecrest lot, why not make that the residents only beach? That people would be able to go to Whitecrest, stay safe, and you could still have the other lots open for seasonal visitors that you're selling stickers to.
Suzanne, do you want to answer that? Or anybody else?
Um,
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question? I was answering a question in the office.
Uh,
I'm
Don-
just worried that you're gonna be selling stickers to people and then there's gonna be no parking available to them. So you're basically taking their money and the lots are gonna be full because you're already closing Whitecrest completely. So my suggestion would be to open up Whitecrest to residents only. So you still have parking available for the people that are buying their stickers at LeCount and Newcomb. And I know that the dunes are not everyone likes to go up and down the dunes. But the residents still have the options to go into the other two beaches. And if they don't feel safe, they will have a safe place that they can go at Whitecrest. So that was my suggestion.
Okay, that is a reasonable suggestion, except when you consider that the dune at Whitecrest is the steepest dune that we have, and a lot of people are daunted by it. And it's flat at Whitecrest. There's no break. The residents prefer LeCounts because there's a nice break there this year.
So it really isn't about safety then. It's just the residents want their own beach.
They would prefer their own beach without competing with people who are visiting here for a parking space. If you're working your normal one full-time and 2 or 3 part-time jobs in the summer, and you have a 2-hour window to go to the beach, it would be really helpful and beneficial to them that they could actually anticipate a parking space being available, which is not to say it always will. So we're going to have some complaints about that, but for the most part, I think it's going to be okay.
So my other question is, are you going to limit the number of beach stickers sold because there's not going to be hardly any parking for people to use them?
We have not discussed that, and I had fully intended to sell stickers to whoever applied for them.
Question?
Yep, go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, Janet, okay?
Yes, Denise Queally also had her hand up a while ago, but go ahead, Helen. Okay.
Suzanne, how many parking spots are there at McGuire's Landing?
I believe, this is off the top of my head, it's around 150, and 25% of those will be coned off for the reduction in numbers.
So, okay, thank you.
Okay, Denise?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody. I've been trying to attend these meetings as much as possible. I'm a non-resident taxpayer, have been built our home 21 years ago, spend every summer there. My kids have done Wellfleet Rec since they were 5 and 6 years old. They're now happily counselors. Love Becky, love you guys very much. Thank you for everything. Just a quick question. I just wanted to know, McGuire's Landing, LeCount happens to be my favorite beach and closest to our home. So am I allowed to go on the beach as a non-resident taxpayer, or is this just for residents? And how would you find that out if that were?
Oh, no, anybody who is a non-resident taxpayer and those who live here year round, all get resident stickers.
Okay.
So this is anyone who has a resident beach or resident beach and transfer station sticker is definitely a resident.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And Suzanne, thanks for sending our stickers right away. The
You're welcome.
application process was awesome. So I just want to thank you guys very much. I just had that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the other thing about Whitecrest is that there is the parking lot could be expanded if necessary and things were working out, whereas LeCount Hollow is going to have a fixed parking reduction. So if the town would felt the need to open up sections of Whitecrest back parking lot for additional visitor stickers, that would be an option that could happen in the future. So that was the other reason for choosing LeCount Hollow, McGuire's Landing, and also that's what I've been hearing from residents also is that especially older people who want to be able to get up in the down the dune safely, that may have trouble accessing the beach at another one. And I would just like to point out that we have a vast amount of Bayside Beach and 3 Oceanside beaches that would be accessible to visitors. So I think it's a reasonable request.
Thank you. Justina?
Yeah, just quickly, to the person who said we'd be selling beach stickers and there won't be enough parking. It's that way now. There's no easy answers. And I think in a town where we go from 3,000 to 18,000 in the summer, we have to pay attention to making it remain livable for those who have made this their homes, residents and non-resident taxpayers. And now that running an investment property is so popular, there has to be some local protections to keep it, livable. We're not in the business of providing parking for people's investments.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
I move that McGuire's Landing be open to resident taxpayer beach stickers only for the summer until, what was the date, Suzanne, that you preferred, through the summer?
She said end of summer. We have to say resident and non-resident taxpayers.
Resident, okay, let me just start again. I move that McGuire's Landing be open to resident and non-resident taxpayers only until Labor Day.
Yeah.
2020. Is that all right?
Helen, sec-
Helen seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Helen,
Voice.
I.
Michael, aye.
Justina, I.
And Janet, aye. And I'll just add too that many of these decisions, this is a very unusual year. And so far, a lot of decisions have been in flux. So we'll see how this all goes. So now we're at other recommendations and updates. And I want to make sure Chief Hurley, Chief Pauly, Mike Trovato, and any other department heads and employees or staff is still here. I want to suggest that we don't have another meeting until I think it's June 30th would be our next one. And that would be after Governor Baker would make his phase 3 recommendations. Does anybody feel that we need one next week?
Well, so next week would be a regular update call. Then the next meeting like this would be
30th.
The 30th anyway. So next week is just our standard bi-weekly update call with the community. So this next after the governor's update with the select board and NAMT would be the 30th.
Okay. I'm just wondering if even with the weekly update, is it still something they want to do weekly? Because they do it here. They do it every other week with us doing this. Any
Are you
comments?
asking if they want to still hold an update with the community?
Yes.
Chief Hurley, Chief Pauly. I mean, I think the reason that we established this every other week schedule was so the community could still be updated, but business could get done. So if you want to, I mean,
I'm just asking, I'm throwing it out there because most of the select board does come to this too. So we're having a lot of meetings and so are they. And, back in May, this was more urgent and it's not as urgent. So I'm just asking for Chief Hurley, Chief Pauly, Mike Trovato, anybody's opinions. It's not a discussion, it's just yes or no, keep it going or ease up.
I'll defer to the chiefs on this one.
Okay.
Part of the emergency management team.
Chief Pauly here, Madam Chair. I very much appreciate not having additional meetings when we don't need them. I would suggest maybe that we just have next Tuesday's meeting as we normally would. We can make it abbreviated for any real new urgent things that may come up. And then perhaps that would be the time that we would say, we're going to suspend these meetings or we're going to readjust the schedule. But that's just my thoughts, and I'll let Chief Hurley go.
Chief Hurley?
Nope, I would say the same thing here. I'm noticing some other groups now. The needs group meets on the third Friday, so maybe we could do the second or third Tuesday, at least once a month to keep, just to keep the
Yeah.
community abreast of what's going on.
Yeah, no, I definitely say at least once a month. Okay, close enough.
Madam-
So Helen, we have to move on to, I almost forgot, we have to move on to the approval of Harrigan's Cafe for their outdoor license.
I just have one thing to add.
Of course, go
On
ahead.
the agenda. Yeah.
On the
so
agenda?
Yes, I do appreciate the needs of staff to have less meetings, and we feel that way too. But these quick updates, they take like maybe an hour usually, mean that not only the select board is currently efficiently informed about what's going on, and we don't know what the big influx in July and August is going to be. And I really appreciate these meetings, and I appreciate the Q&A part of it. And I agree that we should at least wait until the next into July to decide whether we want to stop doing them. Because you want an informed select board as things keep opening out. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just asking the department heads how they felt. Okay, so moving on to the Harrigan's Cafe application for outdoor seating. Are there any questions or comments in regards to that?
Madam Chair, it's Chief Pauly.
Yes.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to give the board an update on this, and this is timely. I want to commend the board because we got ahead of this with a board vote probably middle of May, early May for the outdoor dining expansion and creation. And so Chief Hurley and I and Hillary and Mr. Post have been working on this probably, I won't say exclusively, but it has taken a lot of time in the last couple of weeks. But it has gone off without fail or without, from my perspective, without any major issues. The restaurant owners are appreciative. I want to thank again the board for getting ahead of this because I've talked to some of my counterparts in other communities and they're still struggling with this and they're getting pushed back and the relationships are becoming strained between some of the businesses and some of their departments, town departments. So kudos to you guys. I think we're doing it the right way and it's gone off. Every restaurant has been more than happy and more than willing to work with us and it's going on very, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, it has. I commend everybody. So any other comments or questions? We don't have a sign-off sheet with this one. Where the Board of Health, Fire, Police, Building Department, everybody signs off on it. So
They're all on here. They're all on the call.
Does everyone sign off on it?
Fire department's okay with it.
Police is good.
Hillary, Board of Health,
I'm good.
Building Department, Building Inspector.
He's on. I'm just trying to.
Okay.
He texted me good.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Well, so then may I have a motion to approve Harrigan's Cafe, to temporarily allow Harrigan's Cafe? Anybody have the motion in front of them?
I do.
Okay, Mike, do you want to read it?
I move to temporarily allow Harrigan's Cafe to add an outdoor bar and dining area. I'm going to amend that to say an outdoor service bar and dining area until the governor's order expires or November 1st, 2020, whichever is sooner.
Is there a
Helen,
second? All in favor, say aye.
Helen, aye.
Justine, aye.
Michael, aye.
And Janet, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And that's it. Any other topics for future discussion? Okay, how about adjournment? Motion to adjourn.
Helen moves to adjourn. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Somebody.
All in
Helen,
favor, say aye. Ayes, guys.
Justina, aye.
Michael, aye.
And Janet, I thank you, and thank you everybody for listening in. And I'm beginning to like these meetings. They go pretty well when you get the hang of it. So thank you all of staff and department heads for your input. Okay.
Janet,
Thank you, Janet.
bye-bye.